to you, Emma, please.
So I have written a 2 haiku prayer because there's always so much to say in prayer. God of creation, we are inspired by you to care for the world. Be with us tonight as we gather and create faithfully. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Emma, and thank you for being with us. And thank you for all you're going to share. I'm really excited about this. Emma, you and I first connected when I came across some of your poetry and paintings in Glasgow during COP26. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your creativity and what took you to Glasgow then?
Of course. So that's a lot. So let's start off with, my name's Emma. I'm from near Reading. I'm wearing glasses not because I'm cool, but because I'm almost entirely blind. And to have enough light in the room for you to see me, I need to protect my eyes. I'm also a wheelchair user, an engineer originally, and now a licensed lay minister in the Church of England. I've been writing poetry since way before my teens. I can't really remember ever not writing poetry. I didn't journal. I just wrote in verse, in rhyme, in rhythm, and I've always loved it. Fast forward to 2 years ago, and for my Lent theme, I decided I really wanted to create about climate change. Well, as we all know, it's huge, it's on our minds, it's in our prayers, and I was feeling concerned, and the way for me to deal with concern is to write poetry and to paint. It gets it out of my head, into my prayers, and off of my mind. And so I started writing a simple haiku poem every day about creation, about the love of creation, about the fear for the world around us in the future, and painting a painting. And at Easter, I suddenly had people saying these need to be shared, to which I went, that's nice. I don't know how or where. And next thing I knew, Tear Fund was contacting me saying, we want to exhibit them at COP26, these paintings and these haiku poems. So I said, okay, no problem. And they were up there in the cafe run by Tear Fund at COP26 with lots of people coming and seeing them and finding themselves able to engage in a different way, in a creative way, perhaps in a peaceful way, with their fears and concerns and hopes around creation. And then it went from there to become a book, and it just keeps growing, and it's been exhibited in cathedrals all around the country, and it has a life of its own. It's of God, very much.
Marvellous. It certainly sounds like it is. And that's the impression I got when I saw some. So what particularly took you to writing haiku, Emma?
I can't remember when I wrote my first haiku or how I came about it. So that's not a very helpful answer. But
right. Okay.
For me, I love the rhythm of haiku and the way you can write them on the bus, in the bath, anywhere you like, because they're so short you can remember them, or at least I can.
Yes.
I now think in haiku. So I write so many. I write them all the time. And my friends say I often speak in haiku.
Okay.
I love them as well for the way they're easy for anyone to write. Promise you. My hope is that as we leave this evening, you will all agree with me that they are easy to write.
So they are very accessible, aren't they?
Very.
And do you think they help you to express your longings for creation and you've said already that you wanted to articulate your concern about the climate crisis, and you needed to do that. Has haiku particularly helped you?
Definitely. And I think because as I've researched about haiku, they're a Japanese form of poetry about celebrating the natural world. And for me, it's been really beneficial. It's helped me in my mental health around climate change, in my fears around climate change, to focus on the beauty of the world that we are working to protect, to collect that beauty into a breath. The Japanese are much less worried about it doesn't work in English syllables, but what they're worried about is the breath of the haiku. And for me, that is God speaking through the haiku.
Yes. When you talk about it as a breath and as God speaking, it really makes it sound like a prayer. And so, as a form of poetry, I'm reminded that the Psalms are, in fact, poetry, not as we perhaps know it with rhyme and rhythm, but as the Hebrews would have known poetry. And it sounds as though for you and for many, haiku is the same, and perhaps it helps to lament and to worship.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the Psalms are songs, aren't they? They're poetry and songs. Poems are songs without the music. The music is in our hearts rather than in the words, rather than around the words. It's in the words.
Right.
And haiku can both celebrate and lament, or you can take. I mean, I'm going to explain a little bit. A haiku is 3 lines,
Right.
5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables.
Is it always that structure, Emma?
Yes, but we're going to be a bit loose and a bit free, and we're going to remember it's about the breath. So if it happens to be 8 syllables, we're not going to panic about it.
No one's counting then.
When I'm published, I have to make sure they are absolutely tip-top following the rules. But when we're writing for our emotions, for God, it's more about the feel of them than we're not at primary school counting our syllables.
So Emma, would you be willing to give us a feel and to read a couple of yours to us, please?
Of course, right.
Thank you.
So I'm going to read some that were at COP26 and are in the book. And I'm going to start with just the very first one, which the first section are about the reality of climate change. A lot of hot air around climate change issues, whilst the ice caps melt.
Wow. I sort of feel that each haiku you read to us and that we hear later is going to need that short pause after to take it in.
Yeah.
And although I won't say this and put pressure on you or anyone else every time, just this time, I wondered if you'd read that one again.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of hot air around climate change issues, whilst the ice caps melt. And I think that probably came from listening to a scientist who probably used "there's a lot of hot air around here."
But I love that dichotomy between the hot air and the
melting
reality. Yeah. Thank you. Shall we move on to another of yours?
Of course. So this is from the section that I've entitled "We Must Take Responsibility."
Okay.
Slippery slopes. Is there any turning back? Climate action now.
Yeah.
Shall I read it again?
Yeah. Responsible.
Slippery slopes. Is there any turning back? Climate action now.
That's powerful too. And because we can listen and almost take them in the entirety straight away, it really serves to have a few seconds just pausing before we move on. So, yeah. So those have given us an idea and an inspiration, Emma, Before we have a go at writing our own, could you remind us once more of that structure?
Of course. So 3 lines.
Yeah.
The first line is 5 syllables. The second line is 7 syllables. And the third line, again, 5 syllables.
Lovely.
So shall I read the first part of the prayer again, which is a haiku?
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm going to do what I always do. I find myself counting up my fingers. God of creation.
Yeah.
We are inspired by you.
Yeah.
To care for the world.
575, and the breath, that's the most important part.
Yeah.
Being prompted by that.
Yes. And for me, I would find something you love about creation. Something which brings you great joy. And have a go around that. And then maybe after that, something that stirs your prayers about creation. And have a go at that. Because we are all going to be poets tonight. And as poets, our entire lives are about trying to communicate what is within us in words that other people can receive.
Thank you, Emma.